Today for our Daily Cancellation, we begin with a new poll that reveals shifting cultural attitudes and priorities. As we know from experience, cultural attitudes and priorities very rarely shift in the right direction. And I would say they have not in this case either. As the New York Post headline reveals, most Americans don't judge adults who still live with their parents. Now, I'm not going to get hung up on this point, but to be clear, Americans do judge adults who still live with their parents. It's just that they make positive as opposed to negative judgments. It's actually impossible for a sentient, conscious human being to not judge other people. We make judgments all the time about everyone and everything in every situation we encounter. The ability to make judgments, to discern, is one of the most crucial things that separates us from fish and lizards and mice. Now, this is not really relevant to the topic at hand, but it's worth stating for the record that there is nothing wrong with judging other humans. In fact, it is what makes you human, your ability to do that. In any case, here's the article. Living with mom and dad well past childhood has become socially acceptable, according to a new survey. The vast majority of Americans believe moving back in with your parents as an adult is an understandable decision, not meriting judgment, according to a new survey by Harris Poll for Bloomberg News. Well, except that understandable decision is a judgment, but again, not the point. Continuing. Indeed, almost 90% of the 4,106 adults surveyed felt that amid so much student debt, such an insecure job market and record-breaking inflation, there shouldn't be stigma around the decision to live at home and save. It's a good thing because almost half of young Americans are currently doing just that. While no longer quite at the record highs reached in the early days of the coronavirus lockdowns, when nearly 50% of 18 to 29-year-olds lived with their family, about 23 million, or 45%, are currently cohabitating with relatives. That's the same rate as the one that followed the Great Depression. While there used to be a strong stigma against grown children not living on their own, it being seen as them having failed to launch, U.S. residents empathize with the larger financial fallout impacting the housing situations of millennials and Gen Zers. So, in summary, lots of grown adults are living at home with their parents, and our culture now generally finds that arrangement acceptable. And it should be said that our culture, in this case, shockingly, is not entirely wrong. Okay, there are a few important caveats when we talk about the adult living with their parents. In fact, historically, in most societies, including our own, it used to be standard practice for grown children to live with their parents. Families would remain together in the same home or on the same homestead. And that's how they would live. The nuclear family existed alongside of and with the extended multi-generational family. Multiple generations living together, helping each other, working together to survive. There is not only nothing wrong with that sort of arrangement, but it is, to my mind, clearly superior to the modern setup. You know, having families break up into smaller units and fan out across the country, losing touch with each other, growing distant, not being around to help and support each other. This is all very modern, and it's hard to claim that it's an improvement. The idea that kids should leave the house at 18 and be gone forever from the family home, cut off from parental support, that is a recent innovation. The baby boomers may not have entirely come up with this idea, but they are the ones who helped to make it the default setting for a while. Parents were determined to get their own kids out of the house as quickly as possible, in many cases for no other reason than the simple fact that they didn't like having their kids around and they didn't much enjoy being parents, and so they were eager to be done with it. They emptied the nest, which often included getting divorced either before or after the kids left home. A house which was once home to mother and father and children now was home to only the mother, as the family and the marriage broke apart. And eventually both parents end up living in separate apartments on different sides of town, and the kids take turns begrudgingly hosting one parent or the other on holidays. I mean, this is the modern Western approach to family life, and it is deeply sick and totally wrong in pretty much every conceivable way. So if we are seeing a shift away from that failed approach and back to a more traditional, more family-centric way of life, that's a very good thing. But unfortunately, that's not exactly what's happening in many cases. Okay? It's true that some of the adults living with their parents, they do fall into this traditional category. These are functional, well-adjusted, mature, contributing adults who choose to live with their parents or have their parents live with them, either so that they can take care of their parents or because they want to have this multi-generational family, living together set up, or they want to, be close to each other like the old days. And the adults in that category, they're doing nothing wrong. In fact, I would like to adopt their approach with my own kids. I am personally not eager to send all my kids off in 6 different directions, hundreds of miles apart, so that I only see them and my grandchildren, in the future a few times a year at best. If that's what ends up happening, I can't stop them from moving away, obviously, but I would prefer if that didn't happen. I like the idea of having my family all together and close to each other. But the problem is that this only describes a certain fraction of the adults who live with their parents. And I suspect it is not a majority of that fraction. On the other end of the spectrum are the adult children who live at home as children. They don't work, they don't contribute, they watch TV, they play video games, they sit around on their phones all day. They live in a state of perpetual adolescence. And so that is really the crisis. That's the problem. It's not simply living with your parents, it is being a perpetual adolescent. That is the issue. And there are some people who pull that off even living on their own. They might live on their own, but their parents pay for the apartment, their parents pay the phone bill, their parents pay everything. And so they're not living in their parents' house, but they might as well be. They're still living under their parents. And for people like this, if they're at home, they're not at home because they want to be close to their families, but rather because they want to avoid responsibility and they want to avoid work and sacrifice. Adults like this, for example, watch.
Welcome to the day in the life of a 24-year-old that still lives with her parents. I often get asked why I don't move out if I can afford to, and the truth is I am lazy. And honestly, your Toronto prices is just cheaper to be nicer to my mom. So I made these protein waffles for breakfast for everyone. They're so good. They're like 220 calories for the whole thing. And then I got ready to bully my parents into buying things that I want. Then I noticed that my mom decided to copy my outfit. How rude. Look how cute this camera is. I'm obsessed. Then I got some pictures printed. Then went to the aquarium. Just kidding. We went grocery shopping because they never know what to feed their allergy child. Then I got to play with my new toy, made some dinner, and that was my day. Okay, bye.
Okay, so that is a 24-year-old living like a 4-year-old, and she is obviously far from alone. Here's just one more example. Watch.
A realistic day in my life as an unemployed 26-year-old who lives with her parents. Today I woke up at 3 p.m. because these days I'm just too depressed to wake up, and I just go back to bed because I feel like it. And then my mom made us dinner because I live with my parents. This is all the panchan we had, and we had my birthday cake because it was my birthday last week. And the little heads are on fire, which is so cute. And then I got myself kind of together and sat down on my desk and got myself to do some coloring, which only lasted about 5 minutes. And then I decided to do my skincare because I thought it would make me feel better. And first I flossed because I love flossing because I think it's really important. Then I did my double cleanse because I had sunscreen on from the morning, even though I went back to bed after putting on sunscreen. Then I did my skincare, which is like a toner pad, an ampoule, and a lotion because I was lazy today, and that's about it.
Okay. So she woke up at 3 p.m., ate some food, did some coloring, did her skincare routine, and then went back to bed. I can't even say she's living like a 4-year-old because even my 4-year-old has more responsibility around the house than this 26-year-old woman. Like my 4-year-old would not be allowed to live that way. This is a 26-year-old living a life so sedentary that she may as well be an infant. She is a 26-year-old living like a 26-week-old. When we think of adults who live with their parents, this is who we're thinking of, which admittedly isn't fair to those in the first category we talked about. But the fact is that this other category exists, and there are probably millions who fall into it, and it is a severe problem in our society. If the idea of kids leaving the home and moving far away and effectively severing themselves from their extended family is a modern and mostly negative development, then kids staying at home and doing nothing and contributing nothing and remaining in a state of adolescent limbo is even more modern and significantly worse. Everyone here at the office loves the Genucel dark spot corrector, and I love it too because now everyone around me has faces that I can stand to look at, sort of. You might be asking, what does it even do, rather? Well, if you have sunspots, dark spots, discoloration, or dry skin, the Genucel dark spot corrector will help those blemishes disappear in front of your very eyes. Kimberly from Youngstown, Ohio says, my appearance has improved so much since using Genucel. I love all my Genucel products and my skin looks younger. Well, now it's your turn to feel just like Kimberly, but hurry because this sale is ending very soon. Take advantage of Genucel's most popular package, which includes the beloved Dark Spot Corrector. This package also includes the Genucel's Classic Under Eye Treatment. You'll get all these products for almost 70% off. Genucel is so confident in their products that you can try them for yourself completely risk-free. If you don't see immediate results, you'll get your money back. Go to Genucel.com/Walsh and start looking years, even decades younger tomorrow. Say hello to the best skin you've ever had at Genucel.com/Walsh. That's Genucel.com/Walsh. What you just saw in those TikTok videos was a kind of decadence that could have only been enjoyed by the children of pharaohs and emperors in earlier times. You know, the idea of living every day, not doing anything, and just lazing around the house, and yet you can still survive and eat. In earlier times, you would have had to have been insanely wealthy to live that way. But now we have a generation of people who have the vices of the uber wealthy, but without the wealth. It's like the worst of all worlds. You're as lazy and decadent as we imagine maybe the child of an extremely wealthy person might be, except you're not wealthy. And this is the case for lots of 20 and even 30-somethings living with their parents. They say that the economy is tough and job opportunities are scarce and all that, and yet they're doing almost nothing to improve their situation. They're putting in no effort at all. You know, when you don't have a job, finding a job is supposed to be a full-time job. You should be putting in 8 to 9 hours a day, every single day, finding a job. Why wouldn't you? You got nothing else to do with your time. And if you're living with your parents, then you don't even have to worry about feeding yourself or anything like that. Everything's taken care of. You got nothing but time. And so why are you not spending 8, 9, 10 hours a day finding a job? And guess what? If you put that kind of effort into it, you'd find a job in like a week. These are not poor and desperate people scrounging to get by. They're lazy and stagnant, content to remain attached to their parents like barnacles indefinitely. Their relationship with their parents has become parasitic. And worst of all, they don't even want anything better for themselves. The struggling economy is a smokescreen for them. They use it as an excuse, but the truth is that they lack even the desire to provide for themselves. They have no ambition. They have no drive. Again, this does not describe every adult living with their parents, but it does describe a certain large preponderance of them. And for those in that group, the only remedy at this point is for their parents to cut the umbilical cord finally and completely. Kick them out of the house. Let them really struggle for the first time in their lives. Give them the chance to sink or swim. Because you know what? Either option would be better than floating like human driftwood through life. As I'm always preaching, every human life depends on work. No human being can remain alive without work. But if you will not do any of the work for yourself, then you are living off of the work of others. But nobody, especially no young adult, should have that luxury. It is not even a luxury, it's a curse. It dooms you to a mediocre, unimpressive, uninteresting, pointless, meandering life. And that is why, ultimately, the parents who let these kinds of kids live at home with them are the ones who are deservedly canceled. If you'd like to see what else I have to say, you can access my full show by going to dailywire.com or by going to the Matt Walsh Show Twitter page. Hope to see you there. Godspeed.